Hey, it's me, MLV. Here is part 4 of 50 Ways to Kiss. I had to write this one very delicately. Those who have been on my site know that I'm no stranger to writing detailed adult scenes, so to write one without using any descriptive words, yet still describing it enough to give you an idea of what's going on, was a tad difficult, but I did enjoy the challenge, and I hope that this is an enjoyable listen nonetheless. So buckle up, keep your hands inside the ute at all times, and keep the screeching to a bare minimum, please. Here is part 4 of 50 Ways to Kiss, Shoto X Female Listener. There was a deafening silence as you both stood there looking at each other, you with absolute horror at the question he had just asked, and him with a calmly expectant look on his face. "Why would you even want that?" you finally asked. "I would like to see what it feels like," he replied innocently. There was zero lust or carnally driven hunger behind his words, just straight up innocent curiosity. And I mean, with the way he said it and all, how could you refuse? It was like he had asked to take a sip of your drink just to taste it. Slowly you let your hands slide down your cheeks, dragging the skin a little with them so that the red of the inside of your lower eyelid exposed to his curiously onlooking eyes. "Okay," you said at the same time as you let your face bounce back to normal. "But first let's swim." "We will try it?" he asked with stoic excitement. "Yeah, we will, but let me just, compose myself, zen out, not be here for a second so that I can be here later, He just blinked at you, his two-tone eyelashes fluttering with his blink. "Translation, let's go to the beach," you said, holding your index finger up knowingly. He nodded and you both parted ways to get swimmers on, and then head down to the beach. The water was surprisingly warm, and being a relatively private beach, there weren't any other people around, save for the odd couple walking along the sand. So you had a really nice time together swimming and playing in the waves. At one point, Shoto made an ice path on the water so that you could walk out to the reef, and you spent some time out there looking at the sea life before coming back in. "That was so awesome," you said with excitement as you swam the short way back to the sand from his ice path. "I wasn't expecting to see a stingray." Shoto hummed, his eyes glancing towards the holiday house before looking back at you. You walked up the beach to where you had left your towels and picked yours up to dry off, while Shoto used his fireside to dry off the water. "Can I borrow some?" you asked, looking at his left hand that was on fire. "I cannot give it to you," he replied with confusion. "No, I mean, can I dry off with the heat?" you asked again. "Just kind of hold it out, I guess." He nodded, holding his hand out to allow you to dry yourself next to it. You went to ask him something, but as you opened your mouth to speak and look up into his face, you saw that he was preoccupied by looking at the holiday house again, and you chuckled to yourself. "I know what he wants," you thought, hiding your smile from him. "Okay, I'm ready," you said brightly as you stepped back from him. He was so single-minded on getting back to the house that he just turned and headed straight for it, and you had to call him back to come and get his gear, giggling as you called for him to get his towel and bag. "Calm down," you chuckled as he sheepishly picked up his things. "It's gonna happen, you don't need to rush." "I am excited," he said straightforwardly, and you laughed. "Yes, I can tell," you replied, following him up the sand back to the house. Back inside, he put his things down, and you placed yours next to his and looked up at him. "To my room," he said, and turned to lead the way. "Wait, how are we doing this? Are you gonna stand or lie down?" you asked, following him into his room. "I will lie down, like what you did, although I will not knee you in the head," he added bluntly. "Okay, I didn't mean to do it, it was a reflex," you said defensively. "I am fine, but I still will not do it to you," he said, reaching for his swimming trunks to pull them down. You let out a little squeak and turned away, balling your fists up by your side and then punting your wrists to your hips to expel the nerves. "Are you ready?" you asked back to him when you heard him lie down on the bed. "Yes," he replied. "I appear to be excited by this, so please ignore. Okay, I just..." You turned slowly and looked at him lying completely naked on the bed, one arm up behind his head to support it, as he had his head tilted back a little bit to look back at you. He definitely was aroused by this, and your eyes were drawn to the highest point of his body at that moment in time, which was south of the waist tan line, and with a shaky breath in you walked over and got onto the bed between his legs. There seemed to be some kind of force field that was around him, because the minute that you were inside his personal bubble, you suddenly felt that same arousal that he was experiencing, and your mind started to throw some sultry suggestions at you. Most of them you ignored, but the urge to taste him remained, and before you could stop yourself, you had bent your head down and connected with his pink tip. It stiffened and moved, so you kissed it again, and got the same reaction. Fascinated, you did it a few more times, and then let your tongue explore a little. A half hour later, and with one very satisfied Shoto, you both emerged from his room looking a little guilty about what had just transpired. I liked that. We need to do that again, Shoto said with a small smile. I liked that too, and maybe we can try that on me again soon? You asked shyly. I would like that, he replied, but I would like to not get knocked off the bed by your knee next time. Yeah, promise, that won't happen again, you chuckled. With summer holidays now ended, you and Shoto headed back to school. You were a lot more comfortable around each other now, after your holiday experiences, and Kaminari picked up on that energy immediately, so wanted to get the gossip from your man. Did you have a good holiday? He asked as he sidled up to your boyfriend in the cafe later that same day. Yes, I am level 4 boyfriend now, Shoto said in reply, almost proudly. Cool. What does that mean? Kaminari asked. It means I can be between Yin's legs and she can be between mine, he stated calmly. Kaminari nearly short-circuited. You, he wheezed. You did what? Or maybe I'm a higher level now, since I was inside her. It was at that point Kaminari fell backwards off his chair and drew the attention of Mina. What happened? Dude, you okay? She asked as she helped the shocked blonde up. He, Kaminari wheezed, pointing at Shoto. You had just entered the cafe at that moment and saw culprit number 1, Kaminari, on the floor, with culprit number 2, Mina, helping him up, next to victim, and also suspect number 1, sitting there looking confused, as usual, and made a beeline over to them to hopefully intercept before anything was said about the holiday. Kaminari saw you and nearly passed out again, while Shoto just gave you an innocently blank look, like he had no idea why Kaminari was having a seizure. He was inside you? Kaminari finally wheezed out. What? No, it's not what you think, you gasped with mortification. Am I level 5 boyfriend now? Shoto asked calmly amid the chaos. You're level 5 in trouble right now, sir. Get your ass outside. We need to talk. Oh dear, Shoto. You need to do a lot of explaining, my man. There ends part 4 of 50 Ways to Kiss. Stay tuned for next week's one-shot, which will probably be part 3 of You Lose, because there have been a few people asking for that. And then I do promise that I'll get back to Stuck Together and give you part 4. I think that's what we're up to. Anyway, see you next week.